Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds, in the studio Tuesday morning. Looked like it was a little hot night down in Jacksonville, Florida yesterday.
It was not a good one for the Kansas City Chiefs, although when you take a look, and I know the old expression is statistics are for losers and all that, but Kansas City should have won this game. They had it, folks. Outrushed, outpassed, out everything. The Jacksonville Jaguars outquicked them. Of course, Kansas City is going to outquick most of the teams that they play. But they did not outpenalize the team. That was Kansas City, and that's where the problem was. Kansas City had 13 penalties against 4 for Jacksonville. That's 13 for over 100 yards. Jacksonville had 4 penalties for 25 yards. Does that make a difference? It does, because it took Kansas City right out of good field position when they could have mounted the scores. Still, there were so many options in this game that it kind of defies belief. Jacksonville wins it 31-28 on virtually, not literally, but virtually the final play of the game. Mahomes, my goodness, he had 29 pass completions, and Trevor Lawrence had 18. Kansas City rushed 318 yards, Jacksonville 221. Jacksonville's a rushing team. They have Etienne back there, who is a classmate of Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. But yet Kansas City just kind of shot themselves in the foot. That 99-yard pick six by Devin Lloyd, while it was not the ultimate killer in the game, it certainly took the starch out of anything Kansas City was going to do. They're on the 1-yard line, and they're ready to score another touchdown. And this kid picks it off. Man, Devin Lloyd's a pretty good player, folks. He was the Jaguars' #1 draft choice 3 years ago from Utah, and the guy can play. He's also won a number of awards.
He's had 4 picks this year so far. We only played 5 weeks.
He's the NFL leader in picks. And yet Mahomes decided to challenge him, and it paid the price with a 99-yard pick six. And again, that wasn't the killer in the game. Then you have Trevor Lawrence, who pulls off some kind of a miracle touchdown run with about 23 seconds remaining. He tripped and fell, slipped again in the backfield. Now, why weren't the Chiefs after him? They were. And he was in the clutches of the Chiefs' defense, but he somehow got out of that. The rest of them were in the backfield, guarding against a pass, and there wasn't any pass. And Lawrence just took it in for what is essentially a 4-yard score, and that was the game winner, 31-28. Kansas City just simply did not play with their focus. At least that's the impression I got. They're a better team than Jacksonville. Better team than most of the teams they play, but they didn't come to the fore last night at all in the clutch, and that's where they needed it.
I knew that the ESPN broadcast was going to curse us every time they start talking about these one-score games and how we held the NFL record with like 17 in a row. And that was our whole season last year, defined by one-score games. And this year, it's not going our way. I'll tell you this. Last night, I think I watched the whole thing. I think it really just comes down to discipline. The penalties were stupid. You got one guy Bucker kicks it out of bounds, puts him on the 40. The same kid who had just had a holding call on him on the last punt return gets another holding call on him at the same time. And then let's go back to that Trevor Lawrence scramble. After it happened, I was like, okay, good night, I'm going to bed. When I woke up this morning, I watched video of it. You see Chris Jones just stop. Just stop. I was more mad about that play than I was about the loss. And again, like I said, it comes down to discipline last night. With exception of a few select guys, Patrick Mahomes being one of them, there was a lot of guys on that team last night that did not play disciplined football.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to point out here, too, including the 13 penalties, 13-4. That is a lack of discipline at certain angles. That's not to say the penalties were justified. I thought that Shamari Connor's interference was, come on, it's subjective. Yeah. But especially do you call that in the end zone, in the clutch? No, I don't think so. But that's not how the official ruled it. And when the official, and they do this in the NFL, he said, "Are you sure that that's the penalty?" "Yeah, I'm sure." "Okay, then we'll call it, and it's 1st and goal from the 1. But all sorts of things. It just should not have happened. And I'm afraid that when Kansas City looks back on this season, and I'm not predicting anything bad is going to happen to them because I think they're a good team, Super Bowl caliber team. But they're going to say, hey, how did we lose this? I hope it doesn't come back to haunt them.
Well, and again, the penalties, you cannot control the way the refs are going to call the game. It's always going to be different every time. You can see, but you can also see as a professional how they're leaning. And yeah, there were several calls that I was like, what? And then there were several no calls where I was like, he was obviously wrapped around him. What do you called that? But it doesn't matter. You don't have control over that. What you do have control over is once you discover and establish the fact that the officials are going to be ticky-tacky like that, then you have to play disciplined football at that point.
There's
and
no
again,
question about that. The discipline factor comes into play every single time. But I tell you what a solution is, and I've said it many, many times before, and I'm not the only one. The solution to the interference controversy is to hell with the spot foul, 15-yard penalty like they do in college, and go on from there. That would reduce the controversy that goes on. It would end the situations like we say, first and goal at the 5, after you're on the, 30-yard line of the other team before. Come on. That just, I know why it's done. The NFL owners want scoring and all that sort of thing, but that is a bogus call, and it should be eliminated, period, exclamation.
I agree, and you know what else is bogus? Staying up till almost 10:30 and having to get up at 4:30 because just to see your team lose. Ned just informed me there was actually some other sports going on other than the Kansas City Chiefs last night, and that was baseball, right?
And they both performed before sellout crowds in Milwaukee and in Philadelphia. And in Milwaukee's case, the Brewers won. In Philadelphia's case, the Phillies lost. Dodgers beat Philadelphia 4-3. The winning run, this is interesting because Los Angeles scored 4 runs in the 7th inning and to make a 4-0 lead. And that 4th run, which was an RBI single by Shohei Ohtani, it seemed like icing on the cake. It wasn't. It was the winner because Philadelphia came back with a rally, scored a run in the 8th, 2 in the 9th, had the tying runs on base in the 9th inning and could not bring them home. Philadelphia's in deep doo-doo right now. They're down 2-0 with the series moving tomorrow night to Los Angeles. Now the Brewers and the Cubs, geez, they've got the big lumber out. They had 2 3-run homers last night. That accounted for 6 runs and another solo home run. That's 3 total, and beat the Chicago Cubs 7-3. Now that series moves to Wrigley Field. However, the Cubs are down 2-0. It's going to take a heck of a rally for them. American League games coming up tonight, so there's still plenty of baseball going on. And I will add too, Mike, that we have a game here in town on Thursday night. This is to benefit a myotrophic lateral sclerosis foundation at Cox South. It's the only ALS clinic in the entire area for hundreds of miles, and it's a benefit game. Happens every year. It's called Battle for Bell in honor of the late Howard Bell, who did succumb to a myotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And it's a baseball game between Missouri State and Drury, and it'll begin at 6:30, Hammonds Field on Thursday night. A great benefit. Interesting collision. Hey, get on out there and support the cause, folks.
Great cause to support, and something else that's great is we still got about, 12 to 15 teams undefeated in college football right now.
It's 8 of 10. 8 of the top 10.
Well, 8 of the top 10, but I was looking at the top 20.
Well, in the top 10, you can include Mizzou in that group.
Yeah.
However, Mizzou really, or they're number 13, 14, somewhere around there.
We're at 14 right now.
Number 14. They haven't played anybody.
Yeah. Well,
Now,
and that's why you see teams like
They will
Alabama.
coming up on Saturday.
Yeah.
They have Alabama coming in. Undefeated teams in the top 10 are Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and the top 5 teams in the ranking, also Oklahoma, Indiana, Texas Tech. They're all unblemished. And Mizzou is ranked number 14. They take on the Crimson Tide. I love some of the promos for this game. Hey, it's Mizzou versus the Crimson Tide. Never once mentioning the name of the university, which is Alabama, folks. Anyway, they come in. That's a late morning game on Saturday, and Alabama is a 2.5-point pick in that game. Should be a lot of fun, but that's all coming up this weekend, and it should be a really interesting and exciting weekend.
Always is, and we are right in the middle of it. The Bears on the road this weekend, right?
Tomorrow. Play a Wednesday night game, and this is, to my knowledge, this will be the first one in history for them. This is how Conference USA works. They get their games on national television. It's on the CBS Sports Network, And in this case, I believe the game is televised on ESPN2, if I'm not mistaken. But Conference USA has this packed with ESPN and the CBS Sports Network to play games in the middle of the week that provides some kind of viewing for the audiences. Thursday night has pro football, but here's Wednesday night's game. Well, the Bears will play tomorrow night in Murfreesboro, Tennessee against Middle Tennessee State. Missouri State's a very slight favorite in this ball game, but Middle Tennessee State's a veteran team. They know how to play the game. They've been around, and they've been in championship form. We'll find out. But the game will be tomorrow night under the lights in Tennessee.
Give you something to watch on a Wednesday in addition to probably, 2 or 3 baseball games going on at the same
They'll
time.
They'll be also
Ned.
going on, yeah.
Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.